All right, welcome back to Mantle Mondays, where we sit down with founders and leaders who are pushing the boundaries of innovation. Today, I'm especially excited because I've got Mike Cooke here, and we're exploring the world of biotech, which is a frontier for all of us in this world that only a very few people know a lot about, being one of those. So Mike Cooke is our co-founder, CEO of AmacaThera. It's described as a Toronto-based biotech company developing next-generation hydrogel platform that enables sustained, localized drug delivery. Mike's got a fascinating journey, which we're excited to dive into. Welcome, Mike. Great to have you on.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Let's jump into your background. Maybe walk us through your journey to founding AmacaThera and then kind of motivations that got you into the world of entrepreneurship. And then we'll just dive further deeper into it.
Yeah, it's a bit of a long, crazy story, so I'll try and give you the abridged version. So my background, so I'm a scientist by training. My undergrad is molecular biology biochem, PhD stem cell biology, then a master's of business law. Came to Toronto 2008. It was meant to be 2 weeks and head back to the UK. And then since 2008, ended up staying here. And to be honest, I've stayed here for the company. The research just kept developing and the company kept growing, so I just stayed here. So initially, we were doing research on stem cell transplantation for stroke, saw some pretty exciting data working with Molly Shoyked at the University of Toronto. And what we said was like, okay, this data is really cool, but how do we build a company? How do we take these scientific discoveries and advance them into a product that can go into humans? So really the genesis of the company was building a company that would advance a product into humans. So that was the direction we were going after. So we sort of looked around and said, okay, look, stem cell transplantation is pretty complicated. Is there a simpler, low-hanging fruit application that we can do first? Where we ended up at was post-operative pain. And now this is back in like 2014, 2016. And at the time, the surgeons were saying, look, there's an opioid crisis coming. There's going to be a problem. So really, we're like, okay, let's develop something that will address this. And we thought that would be relatively easy and relatively straightforward. And as I said, that was 2014, 2016. We're still going at it right now. So really tooled the company around, this is the first application of the tech. So the lead asset. So right now we have a surgery, you inject it with anesthetics, they wear off, you take opioids. So the opioids, obviously there's adverse effects of them and addiction and then opioids getting onto the street. So we said, look, surgeons are already injecting anesthetics, pain blockers. What if we take the pain blockers, put them in our technology and make them last longer at the site? So it's a very simple product, right? We don't change surgical practice. We're not changing the drugs. We're just changing how they're delivered and making them last longer at the site. So that's really what we're focused on. So from there, we did a seed round out of Boston in 2018. With that, we took the tech to Health Canada, said, look, here's the development plan. This is what we wanted to do. Did a seed round back in 2020 now, I think. And Amar, I think you joined that round, right? So you came along board with others.
Gracious for being a traveler on your journey. It's super exciting.
It's a journey. And then so with that, we took the tech and got it into humans. So we ran a clinical trial on the core tech and showed that the core tech was safe. And then from there, we've done several extensions and several rounds and really continued to advance the product. And most recently, we took the gel, the core tech, combined with an anesthetic and showed that we had a competitive advantage to what's out there on the market. So really got some compelling data around that. Along this journey, we've also done various licensing deals. So we have a deal with Merck Animal Health, looking at our asset for animal health, like again, a huge need for like pain management in cats and dogs. We have some undisclosed pharma partners partnering in other assets, so sort of like biologics and various different modalities. Most recently, we're working on something pretty exciting. We can't announce it yet, but hopefully before year end, it's going to be a meaningful deal. It'll be a significant deal. And I know in this year, 2025, right, very few deals have been done. Markets are hard, so
Great.
we should have something exciting.
Couple comments, couple questions for maybe some clarifications for folks. Just on your co-founder, maybe just introduce her. I believe she was the chief medical officer of the province of Ontario. Just maybe kind of how you all got together.
Yeah, spot on, right? So Molly was the chief medical officer or the chief scientific officer, I think, of Ontario. Molly's the CSO and co-founder of the company. She's a professor at the University of Toronto. I sort of tried to explain Molly to some people, and I put on a slide deck. Molly is a world-renowned bioengineer, and a consultant questioned me, and you hear him typing away, and he said, "Oh no, Mike, it's okay. Put it into ChatGPT. ChatGPT agrees. Molly is a world-renowned biomedical engineer. That's okay. You can put that on the slide deck."
There you go.
So I would say Molly's a certified ChatGPT world-renowned biomedical engineer.
Amazing. And then you covered it earlier. Maybe explain the exact problem that you're solving with AmacaThera in the surgery recovery.
Yes, really laser focused on the product, right? So right now, if you go in and have a surgery, like any surgery, right? It could be a hernia surgery, it could be a back surgery, it could be a knee surgery, it could be a hip surgery, it could be hand surgery. The surgeons cut the tissue, and in cutting tissue to do whatever surgery needs to be done, you obviously cause pain because you're causing damage. So right now, they'll inject an anesthetic, and if you've ever had like a cavity numb or freeze the teeth, right? So they'll inject an anesthetic, it wears off. But really, that anesthetic is there for the pain of the drilling. And after the drilling's done, it's fine, you're good. The problem is that surgeons use those same anesthetics, those same freezing agents for surgical incisions. And really, the pain from a surgical incision doesn't stop after the incision, after the procedure. It goes on for several days afterwards. So, what this means is the current technologies need additional painkillers. So, that's where you get opioids. And really, they give you a bag of opioids and send you home with it, right? So, these opioids are addictive. There's other issues less talked about, like they cause constipation as well, right? So there's a huge problem with these opioids. And they can also get onto the streets. So really focused on using these anesthetics that are short acting, making them longer acting by putting them in our material, injecting them in the site as the surgeons do now, not changing surgical practice, just making them last longer.
Yeah. No, it's fascinating. Y'all are doing God's work, so that's amazing. For a lot of folks, this is a different category of company building. Um, you talked about, you know, regulatory bodies approvals. It's super high risk, and sometimes you're at the risk of somebody at an administration saying yay or nay. I know there's less regulations in some of the animal related items, but relative to tech startups, it is a different beast, different world. Maybe share just a bit on the recruiting of folks on your team, how it works, what some of the potential outsourcing pieces are that are common in this industry that people otherwise wouldn't.
Yeah, no, it's a complicated beast for sure. And maybe because as you say, like a lot of people aren't in the space, like a very high level overview of what we do, right? First, and then I'll sort of explain how we do it. So to get a drug approved, it's very nuanced, but in broad sweeping statements, you do sort of a phase one, a phase two, and a phase three clinical study. So to get to phase one, you sort of show to Health Canada, FDA, you show, look, here's a bunch of data showing that our tech is safe. We should try it in humans. And then phase one will be a handful of patients, most likely healthy volunteers. You'll then take that data back to Health Canada FDA. So, look, here's the phase one. It looked good. Can we progress to phase two? And so AmacaThera actually has approval to move into phase two. So we have a no objection letter from Health Canada. And hopefully in the new year, well, definitely in 2026, we'll be there. So once you've done your phase one healthy volunteers, you go into a surgical population. So now what this will be is good models of surgical pain are sort of like bunion surgery. So that's a bone growth on the toe, or a hernia surgery. So a soft tissue abdomen. And again, you'll be doing a small number of patients. And here, what you'll be doing is really testing to see if the drug works. So you've got all this data to show that it should work. You've got your human data to show that it's safe. And like phase two is like, that's when the rubber meets the road and like, does this thing work? When you see that, if you see good data, you'll go into the phase threes. And that's where things will balloon, right? So now we're not talking about a handful of patients. We're talking about hundreds of patients. So to do this, there's sort of two big buckets that I sort of think about, right? It's the internal team, and then it's the groups we work with. So internal team, we have regulatory, quality, manufacturing, analytical. There's a whole host of people. Typically there, what we've done is we've used a lot of consultants because we can find experienced people that have sort of done this before. I think really the clinical team we have is like it's really world class. Like it's a fantastic team, and it's composed of Canadians and Americans. Drug development isn't done a lot in Canada, more in the States, so we bring in Americans to help. But like the clinical team is pretty good. And then sort of to get there, we have to work with a lot of other organizations. We work with CROs and CDMOs, so commercial research organizations, and then commercial manufacturing organizations. So groups that will manufacture the product. So we say, look, here's the recipe. This is how you make it. But now you have to make it to the right quality under strict circumstances, right? So like the air is filtered, everybody gowns up. Like you're putting this material into humans, so it has to be good quality. And then we'll ship it to another lab. They will test it. They will confirm the quality, and then we'll ship it to a clinical site and they will inject it. So yeah, there's a few moving pieces.
There's a lot of nuance. You make it sound super simple. I've been a small passenger in your journey, and it's fascinating to hear. But we do get caught up like some of the things that you've had to do just in terms of that. But in terms of a fundraising model, how should people think about it? And I'll set the table a bit. Is it like idea investment, phase one investment, phase two investment, phase three investment, and to put a drug into the market is a big ticket item in terms of dollars. So there's probably some potential for partnerships and things along the way. Maybe just help people understand that and any tips for other founders looking to fundraise.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think so. We've done a lot of things wrong. We've done some things right. One of the big things we did right was we incubated this in Molly's lab at the University of Toronto until it was prime time, until it was good to go. And I think that was a great maneuver. We originally, when I came to Toronto, I was working as a postdoc in her lab, and then I sort of just kept working in her lab, and we got some government grants to fund this. And so that was good because sort of everything's done on our timeline, and science really just sort of sciences. Like it's going to do its own thing. You can't generally speed it up. And when you have investors saying, look, we're giving you money, spend the money, move forward, what's the next inflection? That doesn't really jive with science. So I think one of the things that we really did right was we kept it in Molly's lab for a good length of time before we took it out to raise money. Then we went out to Boston, did a little round, and then we've done some rounds subsequent from there. Amar, you're right. As you sort of say, generate a bunch of science to de-risk it, raise some money, take it to the next level, raise some more money, take it to the next level. So we raised, I think it was like 1.8 million on the idea and the data out of Molly's lab. And then we took that to Health Canada, and Health Canada said, yes, this is the path forward. This is how you advance, right? And that sort of buy-in and de-risking was what triggered the Series A. And then from there, we've done a few other rounds and extensions based on we've de-risked the tech, and now we need money to go to the next level, and keeps going like that. And so you touched on, oh,
Keep me honest here. To get this thing through to phase three, is it, just to order of magnitude for people, is it a million, 10 million, 100 million, a billion, 10 billion? Like maybe just shape it for people just so they can understand the quantum.
yeah, we're in for about 15 million US, I think, and it needs another 100 million US to take it to commercial.
Yeah. That's no small feat, not small dollars. And the tools are different here, right? It's not a virality machine or like a coding tool where you can insert one and use another, right? So let's keep rolling here. This is exciting. I know I could talk for hours with you on this stuff, but maybe you talked about the mistakes. I think everybody's journey in without the mistakes, you can't be successful is kind of how I think about it. I see you, I'm an entrepreneur as well. I see you through interactions. I see you on the overnight flights, West Coast, East Coast, that, I'm getting off and you're like, no, I'm going to Europe from here. And I'm like, oh, okay. It's super impressive. What are some of the, maybe a mistake or two that's taught you more than a success?
Yeah, mistakes. In this whole journey, right, I think we've made mistakes, but we've still ended up in a good position. So I don't see them as mistakes. I say lessons learned, right? And I think financing is one. I think we should have raised more money. Everybody sort of is worried about dilution, right? But I think I would have liked to have raised more money. Feel like we could have got further and achieved more. Well, we've always been sort of very Canadian, very lean. Like in the States, I've seen companies doing similar techs raise like sort of 3-4x what we've raised right out the gate. So more money, I think would have been good. And the economic environment right now is just tough. But I think I would have liked to have spent more time sort of down in the States, really building those networks. And I think building the networks before you go out and raise is important, right? Otherwise, you sort of go out cap in hand. We need some more money now, please. So I think that, like fundraising, like I think I would have done that differently.
Just a couple of other small ones. Obviously, we're grateful for having you as a customer. What were you using before you were on Mantle for your cap table?
Yeah, I think the guys are using a combination of Excel and Carter and napkins, probably is where they're at. And we have a good support team to Amica. Like we have a CFO, chief of staff, head of ops, and those guys have been doing this. And I think Mantle's been pretty good because I judge stuff about how much of my time is it taking and how much of a headache is it. I'm not hearing anything about it, and there's no headache, so it must be working,
There you go. Like a bicycle, it just works, right?
right?
Well, look, this has been amazing. You and the team there are doing amazing things for humanity and the world. So keep doing those things and changing the world for a better place. I'm always excited to learn more, talk to you about the journey. And for those who are listening or watching, where can they find you?
Oh, yeah, visit the website. So www.amacathera.ca.
Awesome. Everyone, check it out. Hopefully, you never need this product, but if you do, you'll be grateful for it.
Thanks, Amar.
Thank you.